Simon, the Arsenal fan, Andy wants to know, would you prefer to watch England cricket, Chelsea or Ricky from EastEnders on the run? In what order?
I don't know. I can't watch Chelsea at the moment, and I can't watch cricket at the moment. So
it's going to have to be banged up.
Banged up.
It's going to take up the life for the next few days. 50 runs needed, 68 balls, Afghanistan against Sri Lanka. They're currently playing at the moment.
They should win this.
If they do win this, this puts more pressure on England to try and fight their way into the next Champions Trophy, which they'd be in real danger of missing out on.
They don't deserve to be there. They don't.
Andy wants to see them play Borneo. What was the other country?
Denmark.
Denmark and Borneo, in the old European League where there's
T10.
no one there on a Wednesday afternoon. That'll teach him.
In Malaga.
Let's get the thoughts now of cricket statistician, broadcaster, comedian Andy Zaltzman. Good afternoon, Andy.
Hello. Hi.
What are Borneo like? Well, I mean, would they give us? I imagine they'd give us quite a game at the moment. Wouldn't they?
You think on current form? Yeah, I don't know. That's a 50-50 call at the moment.
Yeah.
But and if you look at the trajectories of the two teams, well, England's only going one way. But yeah, it's been a very strange tournament for England. I mean, there's been I've seen articles looking at the sort of biggest failures by on paper good teams at global tournaments. And there's been a few defending champions in football World Cups. I think France in 2002 lost all their games. Was it Spain in 2014 in this world? But I mean, what's really marked England out is that not just that they've lost 5 of their 6 games, but they've been absolutely hammered in them all. And it's really, and Josh Butler says he can't quite understand what's going on. I sort of sympathise with that because there wasn't anything to suggest this was going to happen. They played pretty well against New Zealand in September. And they played, but the thing is, they played so little one-day cricket. There weren't really reliable form lines going into this tournament. And I think there was an extent to which people were assuming, and maybe the team was assuming, that once they got the full-strength team back together, which has happened so rarely in the last 4 years since they won in 2019, it would click back into place. And that just hasn't happened. So it's very hard to kind of work out exactly what's been going on and why.
I mean, the coach yesterday, when he said, it says here in the paper, Matthew Mott demanded a meeting with former skipper Owen Morgan following his claims and all is not well in the England dressing room. And you think, number one, Owen Morgan would know this. And number two, have some self-awareness. Owen Morgan's the guy that turned white ball cricket around and won the World Cup. You're a bloke that's gone here and lost every single game.
Andy thinks he's an Aussie sleeper. He thinks Matthew Mott has been brought in by the Australian Cricket Board.
Well, he'd been quite deep cover because he did, help them win the World T20 a year ago.
That's true. But I don't think
it had anything to do with him whatsoever.
He played the long game. That's the mark of a fantastic spy, isn't it? Really.
But yeah, I mean, it is very odd to see the team play. I mean, they obviously, a lot of team spirit. I can't remember who said it was an illusion glimpsed in the aftermath of victory, and it's really hot, kind of strange to see this team playing with so little sort of joy. And obviously that comes partly from just the recurring defeats, but that was sort of something that sort of marked out that team from 2015 to 2019, that they seemed to love doing what they were doing. Now, again, part of that comes from the fact that they were winning, but also playing in that sort of flamboyant way, in which they all sort of complemented each other. But yeah, it's been one of the strangest failures that I can think of in cricket. In previous World Cups, England have stunk the place out, but they've gone in with teams that you thought weren't particularly good white ball sides. But here, they've still got a significant part of the team that didn't just win the World Cup. They've been the best team in one-day cricket for 2 or 3 years before that. It wasn't they might have got lucky in the final, but it wasn't a fluke victory in any way. And they've had sort of middling results since then. But as I said, they've played so little that maybe they just sort of lost that familiarity with the format, both individually and collectively. We see that with Joe Root. Remember during the September one-day series, I think he'd scored something like 350 one-day international runs since the previous World Cup. And in the previous World Cup cycle, in between the 2 World Cups, he'd scored 3,500. And that sort of exemplifies how there's this sort of individual and collective rustiness that I think they were hoping would fall off when the tournament begun, and it emphatically hasn't.
Is it a moribund format, you think, ultimately? I mean, other countries would probably say not the ones doing well, but that's what Joe Root hinted at. Do you think it's kind of lost its way?
Well, I think it's lost its way, but not really because of any flaw within the format itself. It's more that it's been marginalised by administrators for various reasons, a lot to do with T20 franchise leagues. But if you think back to the last World Cup, 2019, it was a very good tournament. There were a lot of close matches, though. There was a lot of good cricket, and there was that incredibly dramatic final. And then you thought, well, this is a great format of cricket, and then it essentially disappeared from the international schedule to a large extent. So I think if the format is struggling, it's not because there's anything intrinsically wrong with it. It's just the way the calendar is structured at the moment. This tournament, until the last week or so, hasn't shown it at its best. There've been a couple of fantastic games over the weekend, and there've been a number of shocks. And we're just mentioning Afghanistan on the verge of their third victory, which is a phenomenal story. One of the great stories of world sport this century, the rise of Afghanistan cricket. But I think the format, if it was supported a bit more, could still be as popular and exciting as it was in previous times.
And it doesn't carry over into the test.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's hope not. Just very quickly, Andy, what are you up to comedy-wise?
Well, just the Bugle at the moment. Just finished a series of the news quiz on Radio 4. The Bugle's running on for the rest of the year, and hopefully a stand-up tour at some point next year.
Excellent. We will catch up with you soon, Andy. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.